Hi, I'm Eva Pilgrim. Thanks for streaming with us today. It was about the money. Two witnesses taking the stand talking about just that in the sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy trial against Sean Diddy.
Before we begin, viewer discretion is strongly advised. The following is for educational and entertainment purposes only. This is the verbatim federal courtroom testimony of the Sean Diddy Combs trial as reported by Inner City Press. If you find this type of legal coverage informative, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more breaking courtroom updates. What causes a man once considered untouchable to physically collapse in open court? What testimony from one of Hollywood's most respected actors could shake the foundations of a music mogul's defense so thoroughly that medical personnel had to be called? And why did Sean Diddy Combs, who had maintained perfect composure through weeks of damaging allegations, suddenly crumble when George Clooney took the stand? In a Manhattan federal courtroom where Sean Diddy Combs faces serious criminal charges, an unexpected witness created a seismic shift in the proceedings. George Clooney, the Oscar-winning actor known for his humanitarian work and political activism, delivered testimonies so explosive that it caused visible distress to the defendant. As Clooney calmly recounted his observations from Diddy's infamous white parties in the Hamptons, the music mogul's demeanor transformed from confident to panicked in a matter of minutes. The courtroom fell silent as Clooney detailed specific incidents involving hidden cameras, coercive behavior, and a sophisticated operation to collect compromising material on party attendees. When the actor produced personal records he had maintained after becoming suspicious of Diddy's motives for inviting certain guests, prosecutors appeared genuinely surprised by this additional evidence. Diddy, who had been taking notes and occasionally whispering to his attorneys, suddenly stopped writing mid-sentence. Witnesses described how his face drained of color as Clooney mentioned a specific date and location. The defense team quickly requested a brief recess, but before Judge Alyssa Saunders could respond, Diddy slumped forward, his forehead hitting the table with an audible thud. Medical assistance is needed, called his attorney as bailiffs rushed to the defendant's side. The courtroom was quickly cleared as paramedics attended to Diddy, who appeared to be experiencing a severe panic attack or possible cardiac event. This isn't just another celebrity testifying against a former associate. This is about what happens when someone with nothing to gain and everything to lose decides that the truth matters more than Hollywood relationships or personal comfort. This is about what George Clooney saw, what he documented, and why his testimony might have just changed the entire trajectory of one of the most high-profile criminal cases in recent memory. Before we begin, viewer discretion is strongly advised. The following is for educational and entertainment purposes only. This is the verbatim federal courtroom testimony of the Sean Diddy Combs trial as reported by Inner City Press. Nobody expected George Clooney to be on the witness list. The room was tense, eyes focused on the courtroom entrance until the bailiff announced the next witness. Gasps echoed. Even the judge seemed momentarily startled. No announcement had leaked to the press, no pre-written statement had prepared the gallery. Just George Clooney walking confidently to the witness stand, his silver hair and tailored navy suit projecting the gravitas of a man who understood the significance of the moment. Until that moment, Diddy had maintained his characteristic poise throughout the proceedings, but something had changed. Maybe it was the way Clooney nodded briefly in Diddy's direction, a gesture devoid of the Hollywood warmth they'd once shared. Maybe it was the leather-bound journal Clooney carried rather than prepared notes. Maybe it was the whispers that immediately rippled through the courtroom. Whatever it was, Diddy was done projecting the image of a man merely inconvenienced by overzealous prosecutors. George Clooney wasn't testifying as a celebrity or industry peer. He was there as a witness who had documented troubling patterns over years of social interactions, who'd kept meticulous records. When his instincts told him something was deeply wrong with the exclusive gatherings he was attending, and when he began to speak, the courtroom wasn't prepared for the methodical, detailed account he would provide. Because what George Clooney revealed about the true purpose of Diddy's white parties, the specific methods of surveillance employed, and the broader implications for attendees. Wasn't just disturbing. It was damning in its precision and credibility. The Manhattan Federal Courthouse had hosted its share of high-profile witnesses, but the atmosphere shifted perceptibly as Clooney was sworn in. Prosecutor Jessica Roberts approached her questioning with careful preparation, aware that this testimony represented a perspective no one had anticipated. "Mr. Clooney, can you please explain your relationship with the defendant?" Roberts began. "Professional acquaintances," Clooney replied, his voice steady and measured. "We've attended the same industry events over the years, including several of Mr. Coombs' white parties in the Hamptons between 2006 and 2019. And what prompted you to come forward as a witness in this case?" Clooney leaned slightly forward. "When I read the allegations and specific details in the indictment, I recognized patterns I had documented myself out of concern for others in the industry. I realized I had information that corroborated key aspects of the prosecution's case." The defense attorney stood immediately. "Objection, Your Honor. Mr. Clooney's personal opinions about the case are irrelevant. I'm not offering opinions," Clooney responded before the judge could rule. "I'm here to testify about specific observations and documentation." Judge Saunders nodded. "Overruled. The witness may continue." Diddy shifted in his seat, his usual mask of casual confidence slipping as Clooney opened the journal he'd brought with him. For the first time since the trial began, the music mogul appeared. "Genuinely unsettled, Mr. Clooney," continued prosecutor Roberts, "could you tell us about your first concerns regarding the defendant's white parties?" As Clooney began his answer, the room fell into a silence so complete you could hear the software of the courtroom's air conditioning system. What followed would change everything. It started like any other day of the trial. The room buzzed with low conversations, the press hunched in their designated rows, and lawyers whispered strategies as they waited for Judge Saunders to call the next witness. But when the bafe announced the United States calls George Clooney to the stand, the room changed. You could hear a pin drop. Some people thought it was a mistake. Others thought it was a different George Clooney, but the way the Hollywood icon walked confidently through the courtroom, doors making eye contact with no one, told everyone this was real. The judge raised an eyebrow, and Diddy, who had been reviewing documents with his attorney, suddenly froze, his pen hovering above the paper. George Clooney moved purposefully to the witness stand, his hand raised to take the oath. No eye contact with anyone. He didn't even glance at Diddy. "Please state your full name for the record," the clerk requested. "George Timothy Clooney," he replied, his voice carrying clearly through the courtroom. The judge allowed the proceedings to continue, and from that moment on, the entire trial shifted, because what Clooney was about to say wasn't part of any media narrative. It wasn't a social media leak. It was something that had remained hidden for years. The story of how we got here began almost 2 decades ago, when Diddy's white parties in the Hamptons had become legendary in entertainment circles. Initially covered by society pages as exclusive celebrity gatherings, the events had taken on an almost mythical status. Invitation to a Diddy White Party meant you had arrived in the upper echelon of entertainment royalty. George Clooney, already an established A-list actor by the early 2000s, had attended several of these events over the years. His testimony today would reveal that his presence at these parties had evolved from casual attendance to deliberate observation. "I first attended one of Mr. Coombs' white parties in 2006, Clooney testified, referring occasionally to his journal. "It was what you'd expect: lavish, exclusive, carefully curated guest lists. But something felt off about the way certain guests, particularly younger women and men new to the industry, were being handled." Clooney described how, as a veteran in the entertainment industry, he had developed a sensitivity to power dynamics and exploitation. "There's a big difference between networking and grooming," he said firmly, "between hospitality and control." He testified that by his third white party in 2011, he had begun taking notes. "I noticed patterns: specific staff members who would guide certain guests to private areas, particular drinks being served to some but not others, and an unusual number of what appeared to be security personnel but who weren't doing typical security work. Prosecutor Roberts guided Clooney through his observations methodically. "Did you witness anything that specifically concerned you enough to document it?" "Yes," Clooney replied, turning a page in his journal at the 2014 White Party. "I accidentally entered the wrong room looking for a bathroom. Inside was what appeared to be a monitoring station. Multiple screens showing various areas of the property, including bedrooms and bathrooms. 2 men were watching and occasionally adjusting what looked like remote cameras. They quickly escorted me out, claiming it was private security protocols. That's when I started being much more systematic in my observations." The courtroom was completely silent as Clooney continued. He described creating a detailed map of camera locations he had identified throughout the property, noting which areas were